Hi everyone, Lazy Fire here. Welcome back to the Hate the Player podcast. This is episode 56 because, well, it should have been episode 57, but I accidentally deleted the file from both myself and Arnold for last week when I was in a panic about how big my hard drive capacity was. Which, I mean, 300 gigabytes is still nothing to scoff at, but I wanted to get it back over 400, and I did by eliminating the podcast from last week.
God, it still kind of blows my mind that these days hundreds of gigabytes is considered small space.
Well, when every game you download is like 80 gigs unpacked, yeah. That's kind of a problem. So, Three Toes is here.
Yay! For
You may
once.
yeah, Three Toes has had a fun couple of weeks while Arnold and I are boring, lazy people, so it's...
I mean, some fun and some just, life in the way. Or not in the
Yeah.
way, but just life happening type stuff. And
Yeah.
being
that's...
sick and being busy and being
Yep.
drunk. All happened.
At the same time.
Everything happened. All the things happened.
All things that were possible happened, thank God. So, you've missed a few of these. Let me explain what happened in the last two episodes.
Did
I had
Arnold
a
finally
huge-
come out of the closet?
No, he actually insinuated that you do jerk off like religiously, and that's why you're too tired to make it, though.
What guy doesn't?
I don't know, man. Anyways, after that weird moment, so in the last two episodes, I basically raged against the PC Master Race, because as much as I like playing PC games, I don't like being associated with those guys, and because they're fucking grognard bullshit, they will not accept certain things, they won't play certain things if it doesn't, if the game company doesn't cater directly to them, and then they complain about console gamers who don't understand that they can't just have what they want. And it's like, come on, guys. You hear yourselves or not?
So they're entitled and complain about being entitled.
Uh-huh. They complain about other people being entitled. Like whenever
Right.
a console gamer looks at something and says, I wish there were mods for this game, then they're like, well, you shouldn't have played it on a console because there are mods on PC. And it's like, well, yeah, okay. We get it. That's one of the advantages. Fantastic. Or actually, there was a point where, remember that Ubisoft 60 frames per second is not good and 30 is cinematic?
Yeah.
That became a fucking meme on Xbox 360, PlayStation 4 Reddits, where people were like, this is the most cinematic game I've ever seen, and it plays in a locked 30 frames per second. Like, that became a thing, they made fun of that, but then the follow-up to that wasn't a Ubisoft tagline, was mods ruin games.
What?
Yeah, and so people were complaining, like people were ruining Skyrim because they weren't playing it exactly how the developers thought it should be played. That was a real thing. That was a real thing.
Well,
So,
first of all, and I didn't. When Skyrim was first announced in the first year or so, when they were showing footage and talking about what the game's going to be, the game didn't end up being what it was billed as, or what the hype led up to. It was supposed to be you can do whatever the fuck you want in this game. It's just a massive medieval universe, blah blah blah. But I mean, it's the same story with pretty much every game that comes out. I mean, nothing ever lives up to the hype from the studio it comes from, or particularly the publisher. It's not always the studio.
Yeah, it's always pretty.
This is case in point. I was thinking about this the other day for some reason. I don't know if you remember this game. This would have been 2004, 2005. City of Heroes.
Yeah.
I was in the closed beta for City of Heroes.
Uh-huh.
And I honestly really enjoyed the game. It was great. A little caged in terms of an MMO sandbox. The skill ceilings were pretty low, and after you got whatever your top tier super ability was at level 15, there really wasn't a reason to keep going forward, so it kind of lost its appeal. But it's a perfect example that it was supposed to be. Oh, you're a superhero in a thriving metropolis. You run around and find crimes and solve them, and just be a superhero. And no, it was the same fucking cut and dry MMO. Here's a mission: go kill this villain, collect experience points.
Right? Yeah. Well, I mean, that's like you said, that's like every game they try to hype it up to be something it's not. The best example of that is always going to be Brutal Legend.
Not familiar.
It's that game with Jack Black.
Oh yeah, you're like the black or the death metal superhero or whatever.
Yeah, and they were pitching it as like an action platformer, and it turned out it was like a fucking RTS.
How the fuck is that an RTS? I can't even fathom that.
I don't know, but that's apparently exactly what it is. There was an LP on the forums a little while ago. I didn't actually step into it. I meant to, but I didn't. But yeah, like, these companies always pitch stuff that is just never going to happen. I mean, I mentioned it in the last couple podcasts, but there's been a whole controversy over The Witcher 3, where 2 years ago, when they first showed off the game, there were different visuals, similar to what happened with Watch Dogs, where the visuals looked a lot nicer in the demo video, and then when the game came out, it didn't look as nice. Which, I mean, I think people were surprised by. Well, no, sorry. Everyone who pre-ordered the game thinking that they were going to get the visuals they were shown was very surprised by this fact for some stupid reason. But it was an interesting conversation because CD Projekt Red will actually talk about it. Whereas Ubisoft, when Watch Dogs came out, basically said, what are you guys talking about? There's no such thing as good graphics or whatever it was. And CD Projekt Red said basically, yeah, we had to downgrade some of the graphics. Some of the PC flourishes we wanted to have aren't really available because if we wanted to release this game, there was no way we could get funding for it, and there was no way we could make any profit off of it if we just released it for PC. There's no way we could have done it. And so, yeah, you guys are getting a little less than what you were told you were going to get graphically. But, you're still getting this game. And you have to balance that out. And people have not responded well to being told to fucking deal with it. And
Shocker.
And this is something I ranted about for, 5-10 minutes in the last podcast that got destroyed. But the fucking entitlement of... You guys promised us visuals. Why don't... understand something. You didn't get the exact visuals you wanted. I am sorry about that. You still got the game you wanted. This is still being called one of the best RPGs of the year. One person's calling it the best game ever. It's 20% larger than Skyrim. There's a million quests. People are saying... I love one reviewer was saying that he got so fucking... tired of there being so much to do that he just started sprinting all over the place instead of appreciating the world. This isn't... It's not Grand Theft Auto where there's a bunch of side missions that just are go collect pictures and go to this place. It's a bunch of different side missions and a bunch of enemies to fight and all this sorts of other stuff to do and explore. Fantastic. That's really good. I like that fact. I don't really care about the graphics to an extent. I would like them to look nice and I'd like the game to run well. That's all I want, really. I think that's all anyone asks for. It's why people don't all build PCs. They just want to play a game. They can go play a game. Let them do it.
That's why I stayed on the Xbox 360 for so long.
Yeah.
It was easy.
Yeah, the thing with consoles now is that they've gotten actually more complex because of all the updates and patches, and you have to install every single game. It's kind of funny how they got away from that.
God, next thing you know, you'll have to find and download your own drivers for the Xbox One.
The good news, though, Xbox One, very soon you'll be able to both play video games and listen to music on it at once.
Why?
No, why isn't that a feature that they had immediately upon launch? Or why is that a thing that they're adding?
I don't know. I honestly don't see the draw of listening to music while I'm trying to play a game.
When When
I mean, certain exclusions apply, of course. I mean, driving in a car in Grand Theft Auto, yeah, I've got the radio going, but I don't need to be fucking jamming out to jock jams while I'm playing a first-person shooter or anything.
When the Xbox 360 first came out, one of the really cool things you could do with it was with one of the 3 USB ports on a 4-controller system. You can actually use a USB expansion thing on them, so it's fine. You could actually hook an iPod up to it, and you still can with the old one, and play songs directly from your iPod through your speakers while you're playing a game. And I used to do that for Project Gotham Racing and a lot of the smaller games on Xbox Live, where you could just, like, puzzle games and stuff like that. You could just, have an iPod running.
Yeah,
it's actually kind of nice.
I guess, yeah.
But, yeah, I see the point. But there's the same thing, by the same token, there's a lot of people who, when they play Battlefield especially, is popular with this, or there's a Lobos Jr., the guy who does a lot of Dark Souls 2 runs. He doesn't really listen to the game, he does commentary the entire time, and so they'll actually have like a Spotify or something like that, or a mix going on in the background while they play, just, to give the stream something to listen to besides their voices in the game. So it's I don't know, it's a niche market, but it's just like, hey, here's one more capability that just should have been there at launch. This is almost 2 years later.
Yeah.
But once again, I'm ranting on consoles. Have you played anything or looked at anything?
I've been looking at a game. God, I'm such a fucking adult. It actually looks pretty fun. I need to see if I can get it. I've only kind of taken a cursory glance at it. Home Improvisations.
Okay.
Have you seen that game?
I have not.
Look it up. It's like a puzzle game. If going to IKEA was a puzzle game. You're given like a room, like just a blank room, an objective, and a set of supplies.
Uh-huh.
So it starts out with like a tutorial to where I think you have like this trophy and a box with all your shit in it, like all different wood planks and tools, what have you. I don't think you actually use tools. I think you just kind of click and drag and attach stuff.
Yes, it looks like somebody is building an IKEA table with
so it's like
drags.
It's like, hey, first objective, pick your trophy up off the ground and place it high for all to see. So you put it on top of the box. Like, that's good. Let's place it higher. And so you open the box and all this shit just falls out of the bottom. And so you have to construct something. Like, basically you have to construct a shelving unit, place that on the wall, then put the trophy on the top. But I guess it's kind of sandboxy. Like, you could probably come up with some pretty hilarious ways to build shit in that game.
Yeah.
Like I said, I haven't really had the time to look at it too in depth, but it's kind of definitely on my radar. It looks pretty fun.
Is it multiplayer?
I don't know.
It looks like in this video I'm watching, it looks like there's like multiple cursors going around throwing stuff around at once.
Well, that sounds even better.
Yeah, it seems kind of different. I don't know, it's nice to see these little like weird almost Flash game style things come out.
Did you click on the video that says harder than Dark Souls?
No. I'm looking at the Steam page. Harder than Dark Souls. Yeah, it's online multiplayer, Steam Workshop integration. They're adding room and function modes and all this other stuff.
Yeah. So it looks like it looks like a unique idea for a game, and I really like that. I'm really, really drawn to that, and I think it'd do a good job of preparing kids for adulthood, because I think some kids have absolutely no fucking idea how infuriating it is to assemble furniture for your house sometimes.
No. Oh, don't tell them that. They'll want to move out.
No. They need this lesson in life. Like,
it's not all cursors, son.
No. You will scream obscenities at a fucking bookcase at some point in your adult life.
It'll be a thing that happens. You may even kick it.
I mean, years ago when I first got this house, I decided to redo the floor in my den myself, like rip up the carpet and put down like wood laminate flooring. Right. It looks great, but I did it like all myself. I had one buddy who came by to help me rip up the carpet, but I found a great deal on like a contractor-sized table saw that's in my garage still, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's
and like deal. Cut all the planks, laid them out. Took me like 2.5 days to do it, like full 12-hour days. And then at the end, I was talking to my dad, and I was like, I could see this as kind of being a help you get closer to Christ, because Jesus was a carpenter, right? And I was like, but I don't think Jesus has ever said motherfucker so many times while performing carpentry.
That's probably pretty accurate. Yeah, my dad actually was an electrician, and he would go do small jobs on the side or help people out when they needed it.
Yeah.
And I have never seen someone get more frustrated than when he tried to help my uncle hook up a hot tub. Just trying to figure out what my uncle had half started it, and he came over to see what was going on. And he was like, Brandon, you're going to have to go around the side of the house because I have some things to say. And so 10 minutes later, I was allowed to come back over.
Wow.
Yeah, it was ugly.
I actually just got done building, I'll send you pictures here in a little bit. I just got done building a temperature control unit for a chest freezer, which I'm turning into like a lagering and fermentation chamber for beer.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. So.
It's nice to have nice things.
Beer chat.
Beer chat. Let's get back into that. I ran into a guy the other day who works for a brewery in New York, and he was telling me that just his brewery alone is going to be adding 5,000 square feet just for sours.
Wow.
And he also said that I could expect to spend about $27 on a bottle of sour.
Holy shit, that better be fucking good.
Well, that's just because they take longer to make and they're easier to screw up. But
yeah.
at this point, the IP, like I was saying, I asked him what his thoughts were, and he kind of repeated what a lot of people said, which was the IPA market has been just saturated with bullshit.
Yep.
No one really wants to drink a ton of IPAs, or they found their niche. And so sours are kind of the next market. And I asked him what he thought the next one was, and he has no clue there. He's saying that this year's shandies, which I drink religiously once the summer and spring months approach, said those are always popular. People are always building a better shandy every year, but the sours seem to be the new year-round thing people are going to do.
Yeah, but I mean, at some point it is going to be, something else, quote unquote.
Yeah, has to be.
And at some point it's going to come full circle. I mean, I don't think the craft beer market has been around long enough for it, to have come full circle yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, at some point it's going to go back to pale ales at some point, and people are going to be like, "Oh, remember the good old days of the mid to early 2010s when IPAs were abundant and everyone loved them." And then nobody's going to remember that they were fucking sick of them after a while because that's all anyone was making.
Yeah.
But sure enough, it's going to come back to it.
Oh, yeah. There's no way it doesn't eventually come back to more IPAs eventually. It's just going to... My wife heard that last sentence and either was making a face to distract me or making a face at the word of IPA. IPA. It was IPA. Yeah, I don't know. It's just it bugs me on a weird level that things are so circular like that. The same thing with PBR, where it was popular back in never, or the 1830s when it won that blue ribbon. And it's been coasting ever since. But people came back and started drinking PBR, and then there was a moment in time where I wish I was joking, but there was a moment where people were trying to make American beers.
Yeah.
Not your German style Kolosches or anything,
Kolsch.
whatever. Kolsch. The guy yesterday pronounced it Kolash, and I thought that
He
was
was
right.
fucking wrong.
Yeah, that seems very likely. But, people were making these, very generic kind of like just drinkable beers. Narragansett showed back up on the market and everything like that. And then it, kind of shifted to IPAs for the last like 5 or 6 years, and now it's moving on to sours or something.
Well,
like that.
it's sours and it's barrel aged.
Oh yeah,
Like,
you can't go 5 steps without another barrel aged.
Yeah.
And the first one I saw that was like Innocent Gun, I think.
I mean, I've had some great ones. I still enjoy them. I had a bottle of a local beer here from a brewery called Coast, like my favorite brewery. They have a beer called Blackbeard. It's an imperial stout, and it was aged in Willet bourbon barrels. It was fucking amazing.
Yeah,
it's really, really good. But it's just, I mean, we've talked about this before. It's just like the IPA thing, to where instead of someone making a solid base beer, they're throwing anything in a barrel and assuming it's going to come out great. It's the same with the IPA. It's where they'll just take a shitty beer, throw a ton of hops in it to where you can't tell, and just assume it's going to be great.
Yeah.
And here's how progressive I am. I'm already sick of the sours.
Really?
Yeah. I've never been big on them anyway. I enjoy like tastings of them, but there's very few that I actually like want to sit down and drink a whole glass or multiple glasses of.
I don't think this is my thing. I went through a beer fest thing recently where sours were on heavy display, and it was like really nice because you'd go and have like a sip of this and a sip of that, and you'd be pretty okay with it. And then you'd get to this thing that just like completely destroyed your palate, and you're still tasting it for 3 more beers.
Yeah,
and I can completely see where some people might not like that, but I think I kind of like the difference in flavor that you're going to get, because you're not really expecting a sour taste when you drink a beer. But it's also a little bit more effervescent. It's a little bit, I would almost say, lighter, kind of. It's almost
it definitely
is
at points.
Yeah, but it's just like a nice change of pace for what you're drinking. Because I'm usually gonna expect sort of the middle of the road beers when I buy stuff. Or I buy the Black Boss Porter if I really feel like a badass. Start drinking this dark Polish beer. It's just like blacker than black. It's just, I poured it out. I usually just like buy the bottles and drink it. I poured it out one time and it is just dark as midnight. It's amazing. If you like dark beers, that's what you go find some of that.
What's it called again?
Black Boss Porter.
Black Boss Porter. That's the name of the brewery, Black Boss?
I have no idea. As far as I know, it's an import. It's always in the import section in my beer area, and I think it's Polish.
Okay.
I think. I used to drink Zatek when they sold it in this area, which is Czech beer.
Huh.
It's actually it's the oldest contiguous brewery in the world, supposedly.
Huh.
It's like never stopped producing, but it stopped producing beer for my area, so who cares? I turned my dad onto it, and he actually went and bought like all of the beer in the county that at one point. Yeah, there's.
So he's one of those guys.
Well, he doesn't really drink that much, but he really liked the idea of this thing that basically looks like it was like a 22-ounce bottle it was sold in.
Yeah.
And so he felt compelled to drink the entire thing every time he opened one up, because he didn't really like have the, like my wife and I have this little thing you put in the top of a champagne bottle and you just turn it and it opens up a gasket, blah blah blah. Yeah, well my dad doesn't know about those things, so he would just like, oh, I opened up a Zatek, I have to drink the entire thing. My mom doesn't drink, so it was kind of, it's like, better just do it all now. And over the course of the day, he just downed the whole thing. That's fun drinking stories for the family. Have you been watching anything interesting lately?
A little bit of This War of Mine. Did you ever play that or watch it?
I've heard good things about it, and I almost picked it up when it was on sale, but I didn't touch it.
It's one of those games to where I can tell that I would enjoy it a lot more actually playing it instead of watching it. because it's very much a game where you like the I guess the whole experience is making the choices in the game. Kind of a who lives, who dies. What do you have to sacrifice to survive? Blah blah blah. To where it's not the most entertaining thing to watch, but I like the idea. I like how it's pretty grim and bleak. Like it's nothing lighthearted about it at all that I've seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I'd like to play it. I probably won't, but I'd like to play it.
Yeah. It's I think that becomes one of those things where you look at it's like that, and have you heard of The Gods Will Be Watching?
Mm-mm.
It's a sort of an action. It's like a point and click adventure game where you make a bunch of decisions and you have all these different scenarios, and almost every decision you make is going to be the worst decision ever. Like just by default, the game does not have like a really easy way to win. Like there's one scenario I was reading about where you're like stranded with all and this is like 6 months ago I read it, so I might be wrong here, but there's one of the scenarios is you're like stranded with a bunch of survivors, and you're making these decisions that might cause you need all these guys to do certain things. The soldier can go hunting, and the medic can heal people and all this other stuff. And you have to make these decisions that could cause the soldier to have a nervous breakdown and start firing on people.
Yikes.
And the medic could decide that he's not interested in healing anyone and go kill himself or something like that. Like take all the painkillers away and go like just swallow them all. So you like have these really difficult scenarios, and it's just when I read this, I'm like, that's an amazing concept. I will never play that because it seems really, really like, I don't know, terrifying, and a commentary on the human condition that I just don't really want to deal with.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not playing games because I like the moral choices I make in, Knights of the Old Republic or something. It's that wasn't why I was playing that game. I was playing it because I wanted to play around with lightsabers. But, the whole... Yeah. I can see where that's one of those things where you'd either have to watch somebody else make those decisions, or you'd have to do them yourself. Like, you can't just be a passive person on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Who were you watching with that?
Generic B was playing it.
Oh.
Which is kind of weird for him, because he usually keeps stuff pretty lighthearted, even in more serious games. I only watched a few episodes of it, and it was kind of like, yeah, it seems like a great game, but it's not something I want to like spend my free time watching.
Yeah,
like it just kind of brought me down just watching it.
Yeah, it can do that, I think.
Like, and it's the same thing. Like, the characters get depressed, they don't want to get up, and they just say shit like, oh, it's all hopeless. Like, I don't want to watch a game where like everyone's borderline suicidal in this post-apocalyptic wasteland.
Yeah, for real. Like, that can be a whole thing. I don't know.
It'd be like some kind of like PTSD game. Like, I understand that some people might get something out of a game like that deals with serious issues, but yeah, not what I'm looking for at the moment.
So that kind of it on your end of things right now?
Yeah, nothing really else has been on the radar. I've been seeing a lot of talk about the next Binding of Isaac update, Afterbirth, or whatever they're calling it.
Oh, is this the update for Rebirth, or is
no, like the next project that's due out in a year or two, or whenever they decide they want to put it out.
Because there was, I thought there was supposed to be a Wrath of the Lamb style expansion for Afterbirth, or for Rebirth, and I thought there was supposed to be a new content pack being released, and like a bunch of bug fixes and everything for the original Binding of Isaac. Like, there seems to be a lot of Isaac stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean, there's still like a ton of people playing it on YouTube and streaming on Twitch. I mean, fuck, Northern Lion is on 500 plus episodes of Rebirth right now.
Yeah, that game came out earlier this year.
Yeah, he puts out 2 videos a day.
Yeah, that guy's crazy though.
Yeah, he is.
That
crazy.
guy, he's clearly in like that DSP circle of death, where you basically have to do nothing but play this game and then upload video, and then hope and pray that you release enough that people watch it. Like DSP releases 15 videos a day. You know, Northern Lion might release 3 or 4, which isn't terrible, but at the same time, you're like, that's maybe a bit too much content for most people to, digest, especially if one game.
Right.
But, people watch it. People enjoy it. There's no accounting for taste anywhere. Although, I ran across, you know who Darkside Phil is, right?
Yeah.
I've mentioned him
Oh,
a couple
yeah.
times.
Yeah.
He has some sort of fan called, it wasn't, everyone like calls themselves DSP Tries It or something like that, and it was like this guy has just created an account and goes around and talks about how awesome Phil is and how he's like just like stomping on people and how all these attacks against him have no basis and all this other stuff. And he got kicked out of the official DSP forums because he was a toxic attitude. So pretty funny to me. Yeah, I don't know. That's all weird. So I was looking at some stuff a second ago, and I want to mention this. Batman Arkham Knight. That is the last game in the Batman trilogy that Rocksteady's doing, or not Rocksteady. What the hell is their name? That actually might be the name of their company. The games that have been released, Arkham Origins,
Right,
Arkham,
yeah.
That's the Arkham trilogy. Arkham Origins does not count in that trilogy.
City
According
Asylum or Asylum City and this
Night.
one.
Yeah. So that comes out at the end of June, and somebody put a list together of all of the DLC bonuses and how if you want to get all the DLC stuff, you have to get about 4 copies of the game pre-ordered.
Wait,
Like
what?
there's a bunch of pre-order bonuses for the game. There's the GameStop version, the Best Buy version, the Walmart version, the Steam version, the limited edition Xbox One version, the Batmobile edition PlayStation 4 version, the Amazon version, and the JB Hi-Fi version, which I think is probably a British thing. And so there's like this fucking chart that the guy put together saying this is the shit you need to do to get all the pre-orders. And it appears you need to order one of the console limited edition if you want this steel bookcase, the art book, the comic book, and the skin pack. The Xbox One limited edition comes with a Batman statue, and the PlayStation 4 version comes with a Batmobile statue. So right there, you have to pre-order one of the 2 console versions to get all that stuff, which is all like what they used to call feelies, like little like cloth maps and stuff they used to sell you with the games.
I just like that word, feelies.
Yeah, it's creepy. So everyone, if you pre-order, gets the Harley Quinn story DLC stuff. GameStop gets Red Hood, Wayne Tech Booster Pack for Best Buy, Prototype Batmobile for Walmart. Steam will get you the Gotham's Future maps or whatever the fuck, and you also get the Red Hood, the Wayne Tech Booster Patch for the JB Hi-Fi thing. Then you get all this stuff for the different console editions, and then you can also get the first appearance suit if you pre-order on Amazon. And then there's the Scarecrow Nightmare story stuff, which is only available for pre-order if you get it on a PlayStation console.
For a Batman game.
So there are something like 12 items on this list that are all like pre-order bonuses. And like somebody, I think it was Jim Sterling, who does the Jimquisition video series, which are just really sad things in general. He was pointing out that WB has been fucking horrible about just screwing over anyone who might want to buy their games in the next over the last few years. especially with Arkham Origins, where they said that they were going to not fix the bugs in the game, but rather continue working on DLC and making that the priority. But yeah, this is kind of just this is annoying when you come in here and you see a game that you were thinking about buying, and like even if I don't care about any of this stuff or whatever, and I'm not going to buy a season pass for a fucking Batman game, that's still like disheartening that for whatever reason the company is going to take this stuff and then divide it up. It's like, hey, we have all this stuff done. Okay, if you pre-order it on this platform, you can have this piece of it for free. If you pre-order it on this platform, you can have this piece of it for free. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Don't even fucking do that.
Like,
I don't know.
Here's a novel idea. Why don't you just put that shit in the game?
That is a weird idea. I don't know where you'd come up with that, like, craziness. What do you think?
Somebody's probably going to call me a socialist for even considering that.
There was a guy today on Reddit, because there was a Battlefield 4 patch recently. He was asking that DICE give away all of the DLC for the Xbox 360 version for free, because he could never find anyone to play with on the Xbox 360. He was the only person who bought the premium edition on the Xbox 360 thinking this was going to be a huge hit. So,
that's the best pity party guilt trip I've heard in a while.
Yeah, it's pretty good. People have been actually asking for Battlefield 4 for like a DLC pack to be completely free for so long. Like since launch, they've been asking for it, and now that DICE is actually doing that, people are complaining they're not getting it fast enough. It's like, oh no, we had to create this brand new like. They're also doing night maps. Oh boy,
sorry.
They're doing night maps too because people were complaining there's no night maps. So they're doing like a bunch of night versions of normal game maps, and they're releasing that for free too. People are complaining they're not able to play the night maps yet, despite the fact DICE announced it like 3 months ago. And they have this very public process of updating their game now called the CTE, the Community Test Environment. And it's like, no, we have actual issues that we're trying to work out in these things. It's not just like go and turn it dark and make everything okay. Like,
just turn the brightness down.
Yeah, what the fuck? And it's hilarious. You see these guys, they're just like in this idea that no, clearly it's just like flip a switch and the game is fixed and all the things I want are done. Of course, that spring patch is getting a lot of hate because it changed a bunch of shit that wasn't actually broken in any way. It was just like a few people complaining about it on the CTE, and that caused DICE to go like, we better fix it, and like overreact on it. It was kind of funny. I haven't actually been able to play Battlefield 4 since that patch came out. Not because I haven't been able to launch it, but no one's wanted to play it. Well, Witcher 3 came out, so it's a whole thing.
Like I don't even really remember the first two Witcher games. Like aren't you like some kind of like monster hunter or something?
Right. I'm actually, interestingly enough, I felt the need to do this because I've heard they were actually kind of interesting books. I actually bought the first two Witcher books. The first one is actually a collection of short stories.
Okay, so wait, which came first, the books or the games?
Books.
Okay.
The games all take place after the end of the last novel. And Geralt wakes up, has amnesia. Geralt is the titular Witcher here, the White Wolf, as he's called, because he went through extra changes and became an albino. It's this whole thing. It's like...
Is that what his persona is?
Yeah, his persona is a wolf. It's actually kind of interesting because it's like it was written in Poland and was translated to English from Polish, and the translation's actually pretty decent. Like, you can't really tell. Like, whoever did it actually did a pretty good job of translating it. But the other half of it is that it is one of the talkiest books I have ever come across. I've gone through, according to the Kindle version of it I've gone through 216 of the 315 pages in the book, or 350 pages in the book. And there has been maybe like 3 action sequences in the entire thing so far. Because the guy is setting up so much stuff that's going to happen later, and like moving characters around. But there is, in the middle of the first chapter, no joke, like 13 pages of people having an argument, like in a crowd. And it was just like, these characters will never show up again, they'll never matter, and they're all just arguing over what happened to the characters that they're going to be talking about for the next like 4 books. It's like, it was kind of funny, like, to read all of it, and you're just like, of course it has to end. And no, it just kind of kept going.
So basically, this book was published with no editor.
There was either no editor, or the guy who wrote it was just like, let's see what happens, and no one caught it. It reminds me in some ways of the completely fucking terrible, God, what's his name? The Steven Erikson, the books he wrote. What are they called?
No clue.
The Malazan Book of the Fallen, that's it. One of my friends from my old job was like, hey, if you like Game of Thrones and Song of Fire and Ice and all that stuff, you know what you should listen to or read? And I go, what? He goes, Malazan Book of the Fallen. So I torrented the first, like, 6 books recently when I was still driving an hour to work, and listened through all of the first 5, and then by the time the 6th one started up, I said, no, I've gone through 5 of these books, they all spend 18 hours doing nothing each, and I am not going to, like, I couldn't even stomach the idea of going through the 6th one, because I'm waiting for the one where something interesting fucking is said or happens, and they just don't. Like, there are multiple characters who will show up and have 3 to 4 page monologues. And then when another character speaks up, the other character goes, please stop, I'm really fucking annoyed by you talking so much. So the guy keeps talking for 3 or 4 more pages. And if there were justice in the world, that character would have been killed off in the first book instead of showing up multiple times across the series. But because Steven Erikson is a complete hack and a shitty writer, that character is a central character throughout his entire fucking series. So, my other writing nemesis besides Patrick Klepek is obviously Steven Erikson. Now, he's made more money than he deserves, so I don't really know what I can do against him. Yeah, so, Witcher books.
You could stop reading.
Well, I could stop torrenting the audiobook versions of it. I'll show him.
Cut your ears off.
Yeah, it's just to spite him. I had to listen to Steven Erikson for 48 fucking hours. Of my own volition. Yeah, so I in terms of what I've been playing, probably not surprising you very much, but it's been a lot of Counter-Strike. I'm actually getting good at that game,
nice.
Which is kind of scary. The gun I seem to be doing the best with right now is the MP7.
That was that was always my favorite in Battlefield 3.
Good thing this is Battlefield 3 and not Counter-Strike Global Offensive. But no, I was playing a couple games today, and you'll see them on my channel because I actually started recording a bunch of them. But there was a point today where I just, like, half my team was sitting there waiting for this one guy with an AWP to fire on them, and so they could try to rush in, and I go, fuck this! And I literally yelled at them, and I run in, and I just randomly headshot him as I come through, and then I hit another guy like 2 seconds later. I just keep going, this is how you do an entrance, this is how you do an entrance.
Nice.
It was kind of funny.
We need to play again.
I think we do, but my kryptonite seems to be whenever I play with people, because I played with one of the Battlefield 4 guys, Basics of CQC, recently, and I was the second worst on our team and then the worst on our team in 2 different matches. And I'm like, man, I'm usually not this terrible. And then I realized I've been drinking since 11 a.m. So that might have caused some of the problems.
Well, there's your problem.
Yeah, there it is. But it couldn't explain why I couldn't do shit to anyone. But yeah, we should play again. Figure that out. Oh, sorry, it's 10:30. I feel like we're at the end of our time together today.
And now the time has come.
I do want to mention before we end, and I really should mention this more often, is that you did do the theme music for this podcast. I always forget to do it. I've mentioned it several times. It's like once every 6 or 7 months I have to mention it.
Yeah,
Just so
I should probably try and like revisit that and see what else I could do with it. But I was pretty happy with it.
it is a pretty good song. I was talking to somebody the other day. It reminds me about Warren G and Nate Dogg, where Regulate, at the end of Regulate, it is just Warren G talking about or rapping, I guess. He was more talk. It's like spoken word at the end of that song. But he's rapping about the, like, properties and strength of G-Funk for, like, a good minute and a half. And there's another song that is nothing but him talking about how awesome G-Funk is for for the entire 3.5 minutes.
Oh shit! Now I gotta find that song.
Just go look up Warren G's discography. I think that was most of everything he did. It was just like G-Funk era forever. That's it.
The one thing it always makes me laugh is whenever someone makes and albeit it's kind of a dad joke on, fucking Regulate. It's if the rhythm is the bass and the basses are treble, then obviously their stereo is broken.
Oh, it's a good dad joke. But yeah, let's play Counter-Strike sometime. I busy tomorrow and busy Wednesday. I don't know about Tuesday and Thursday yet.
Yeah, I have no idea of anything.
Let's find out when we're both online sometime.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, any last words before we go?
Actually, I'm not even gonna roll tide at this time. Oh
No?
shit! I just did.
You rolled Tide.